Hello there. Would you like to live in a more compassionate world? I'd like to think that if you clicked on a video with a title like this one, you probably do. Either that, or you've come in to troll what you think is some lefty snowflake weirdo. To the former group, I just want to put your mind at rest. I'm not going to try and sell you anything in this video, so relax and stay around. But if you fall into the latter group, I want you to contemplate this. Firstly, I'm not a snowflake or a lefty. Weirdo? Maybe. But I don't do politics left or right because neither has got it right, and all they seem to do is blame and argue. I'm more interested in finding solutions to problems than arguing about them. Secondly, and more importantly, if you or a loved one were involved in an accident and the first person on the scene was one of these two people, which would you prefer it to be? Somebody who is not your cup of tea, doesn't tick all the right boxes for you, but is compassionate, or somebody who 100% agrees with your ideologies, but is going to stand there, film it and share it on TikTok? I know which I would prefer, I don't know about you. Compassion isn't weakness, no matter what other people say. It takes strength to be compassionate. As I said a moment ago, I'm not going to try and sell you anything in this video, which may come across as a bit strange, because if you're seeing this, then it's probably because it's been boosted, advertised, and that usually means that there's something to buy in it. I'm not selling anything at all in this video, and I'll explain why later on. I'm not even going to ask you to follow my page. You can if you want to. So how do we make the world a little bit more compassionate? Good question. I'm glad you asked. No, I'm not referring to this, although I suppose that would help make the world a little bit more compassionate. No, if you're in a hurry, here's the short answer to how we make the world a little bit more compassionate. Do something altruistic. That's it. In other words, do something nice for somebody else where there's no reward for yourself other than feeling good, obviously. So you're not doing it to get likes on social media or anything like that. You're just doing it to help another person. Two people feel better for the price of one action. So that's the way to make the world a little bit more compassionate in a nutshell. If you're not in a hurry and you want the longer explanation, stick around. I'm heading home now. I'm going to make myself a brew and then I'll give you the long explanation. So if you are sticking around, I recommend you hit pause, make yourself a brew, and then we'll pick this up when I get back. Okay, did you get yourself a brew? I've got mine. Get yourself comfy, because the rest of the video is probably going to be a bit longer than that short version. So, imagine it's first thing in the morning. What do? Most people probably look at the phone, go on social media or the news, and already you're on a fresh day, but you're probably going to go into a bit of a negative mood because the news is full of doom and gloom, and so is most of social media. And that will affect the rest of your day. However, if somebody did something nice for you first thing in the morning, you'd feel good. And that might make the rest of your day turn out completely different. 2 seconds, just going to have a quick swig. So, my idea is, doing something nice for somebody else, because not only will your day turn out brighter, but so will theirs. Now, where this idea came to me from was I walk my dog every day, and most days we walk past this old folks home called Canal View. Now, when I moved to the area, it's got a big sign with the letters outside, and the C was missing for about a year when I moved here. Canal View, work that out for yourself. Anyway, I walk past this old folks home along the canal nearly every day. And some days you'll see somebody in the window, one of the residents, and they'll wave to you. And obviously, being a decent human being, I'll wave back to them. Also, I do a lot of driving for my job, for one of my jobs anyway, all over the country. Well, I say all over the country, 80-mile radius from my house. So I do, probably about 1,000 miles a month. Sometimes when you're driving along, you'll see kids on a bridge and they're standing there waving. Most drivers are dicks, aren't they? They're just indifferent to it and, just carry on driving. It's such a small thing to, pick your horn and give them a wave. My philosophy on this is that, once they get older, they're going to experience lots of negative things. So why be a dick now? Why not just Be nice and do something. It takes no time whatsoever. But what that made me think about was that, it's such a simple gesture that brightens a person's day, whether they're young or old. Isn't it weird how, in the middle of that, between sort of teenage years till past retirement, we forget all about that. The simple things in life make it pleasurable. Another quick sip. Excuse me. As I was saying, it's the simple things in life that can bring a lot of pleasure to somebody. Let me think of a film kind of reference, but people doing something for somebody else. Think of Spider-Man 2. When Peter Parker loses his mask and he's trying to slow that train down before it's going to hit the end and go over, is it into the river or something? And, it zaps him of all his strength, and then he's just about to fall and the people save him and bring him in. But then he realises his face is uncovered. And Dr. Octopus starts coming in. But they give him his mask and say they're going to keep it secret. And then they stand in front of him to protect him. Doesn't really help much, but it was a simple, kind gesture from the people there. I know it was kind of reciprocal because it just saved their lives. But it took no energy. It was just a simple thing that, a decision, a choice to stand up and stand in front of Dr. Octopus and say, no, you've got to go through me first. Simple things like that is, how we make the world a little bit better. Quick jump cut there because I had a bit of a coughing fit. You didn't want to see that, did you? Or did you? Maybe you did. Well, you've missed out because I've cut that out. What was I on about? Spider-Man, yes. The people on the train, there was no ego, no reward. They stepped up and showed a bit of human decency to protect Peter Parker, his identity, and try and protect him from Dr. Octopus. And that's the kind of energy that I'm referring to and want to, try and get going a little bit more in humanity. I'm going to be creating a series of videos that will be abbreviated to PIF, PIF, which stands for Pay It Forwards, because that's the idea. If you do something nice for somebody, that, they'll pass it on to the next person. So I'm going to be doing some videos. These videos will be based on all kinds of things, but they'll be in the personal and, spiritual development kind of thing, because unlike most people who probably start the day by looking at social media or the news, I tend to start my day by listening to an audiobook for an hour or two, usually on a subject like philosophy, psychology, spirituality, or any of those other wonderful and weird subjects. And from there, I'll usually get some insight or some new knowledge. And while I'm out walking the dog, I'll be contemplating, what I've just been thinking about. So my idea is that I will, if I think it's going to be useful to somebody, I'm going to record a video and share it. And if somebody thinks it's useful, they can pass on that energy. Not the video, but pass on that kind of energy by doing something nice for somebody else. As I say, I read all sorts of books, and I've got a quote down here, so I'm going to put my glasses on quickly. It's from Marcus Aurelius and his Meditations. And he says, what is it? Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, that's some classic Stoic, bluntness. In simple terms, stop waiting around and, take some action yourself. Some of this is mentioned in my book, which I'm going to show you now. I know what you're thinking now. Hey up, you bugger. You said you weren't going to try and sell us anything. Well, I'm not trying to sell you my book, am I? You don't have to buy it, but you can if you want to. Okay, these videos probably won't be that life-changing, but every now and again, one of them might resonate with you. Some of them probably won't. Many of them won't. But if one of them does, and it makes you feel better, then I want you to kind of pass that energy forward by going and doing something nice for somebody else. It's like dropping, a pebble into a pond and watching the ripples. This is how the energy spreads, a bit like the butterfly effect. You do something nice for somebody else, they pass it on by doing it to somebody else. And I'm not even going to ask you to, like, you know, splash my video and share it all over, you know, the internet and social media. In fact, I'd rather you didn't. You know, if you find one of my videos useful for yourself, or maybe you hear it and think, oh, that might be useful to somebody I know, then what I want you to do, you know, instead of, you know, sharing it on your profile. Is that not the loudest meow you've ever heard? That is my cat, Lord Vader, just arriving. Hello. Yeah, don't spread it all over social media. Just send it to somebody privately, because, you know, when we're talking about things like mental health and you know, improving your life, not everybody would like to be tagged on a video about sorting your shit out, would they? So send it privately if you think that's of any use. Now, oh, he's come and gone. That was Lord Vader, and that wasn't even the loudest of his meows. So, who am I? Does it really matter? I'm just a simple guy trying to make his way in the universe, hoping to have done more good than harm, and it's time to check out. Over the years, yes, I've had my fingers in many pies in different vocations. I'm ex-Navy, I've been a therapist, I've been a taxi driver, I've even spent 10 years in prison. But I was on the right side of the bars. Anyway, I've obviously written the book that I mentioned before, and I wrote a book 14 years ago, PTSD, a self-help survival guide. And I'm not asking you to try and buy that one either. But you can if you want to. Okay, I was just messing about there. I'm not trying to get you to buy my books. That would be in another video if I was trying to sell you my books. What I was trying to do was inject a little bit of callback humour throughout this video that might brighten your day a little bit. Maybe I was successful, maybe I failed. If I was successful, what I want you to do now is pay that energy forwards. Preferably today. Maybe go and do it now. You know, go and do something for somebody else. Pass that positive energy, if you want to call it that, that compassionate energy, that human decency energy forwards by doing something for somebody else as soon as you can. Now, that could be something as simple as sending somebody a message who you've not spoken to in a long time. It could be, you know, letting somebody out in front of you when you're driving, or in the line in the supermarket. Or it could be just something as simple as biting your lip. Is it your lip or your tongue? Biting your tongue. Not sure which. I'm confused now. Which is it? Bite your lip, bite your tongue. You know, basically not saying something. When somebody's being a twat around you, bite your tongue, lip. I'm not sure now. I'm confused on that. I'm going to have to Google something simple like that. One or the other. Anyway, zip. Not saying something when somebody's been a twat around you will just, you know, it's doing something nice for them. But that's what I want you to do as soon as you can. If you've stuck this far, then you must be on board for trying to make the world a little bit more compassionate. Do it with purpose, do it consciously, and the world will be tiny bit less angry and hateful, won't it, if you do this? And as we say, the ripple effect can pass on. Obviously, if you want to see these videos that I'm going to be creating, then you would need to, you know, click the like, follow, subscribe thingy, so that you do get these videos. But you don't have to, unless you want to. Look, the world isn't going to change just because we wish it would. You know, no matter how much people complain and say how life is unfair, that doesn't change the world for the better. What does change it is taking one small conscious step at a time. And that starts with us when we do something for somebody else. So thank you for watching this video. If you subscribe, you subscribe. If you don't, you don't. That is entirely up to you. But what I would like you to do is go out and do something for somebody else, something kind. As Yoda says, which is on my t-shirt here, do or do not. There is no try. So do. Go on, go and do it now. And maybe we'll talk again. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.